All right, welcome back, guys. This is the continuation of our 2-round mock draft the day before the NFL draft. We went through the first 16 picks. Go back and watch that video for the first 16. A couple surprises, a couple of people that failed we didn't really expect to fall. But now we're here at 17 with the Chargers. Again, reminder, I have the odds. Colton has the evens. So Chargers. Chargers are an odd team because before they re-signed Mike Williams, I had them going receiver no matter what. Now it's kind of like I don't really think wide receiver is a necessary thing. Also, all the top offensive tackles are off the board. I mean, Charles Cross was probably the one guy that possibly could fall, but we have him going at 10. I mean, the top guys actually fell farther than we thought they would at offensive tackle, but they're still gone by now. I've seen a lot of reports that they are interested in Trevor Penning. I think the other options would have been Jordan Davis or Devontae Wyatt, but they went 13 and 14. So I am going to go Trevor Penning. A very raw prospect, very raw at offensive tackle, but potential to be a great tackle for the future. So I think it's just kind of something you can take a shot on. And again, the main thing, kind of like we said with Jacksonville, where we took Walker, but I think we would have both chosen Evan Neal actually. I think you just gotta protect Justin Herbert. The guy's a stud.
Yeah, he's a top 5 quarterback basically in the league. You got to protect him at all costs. And so the Eagles at 18. This is a pretty interesting pick in my opinion because they got a decent amount what they can do.
And they already took McDuff. We already have them taking McDuffie at 15
as the corner at 15. There's 2 players I really have in mind right here, but I think I'm probably going to go with Drake London out of USC as a wide receiver option to kind of give, I guess that maybe try one more year with Jalen Hurts, give him to Drake London, a talent like him, and kind of see what he can do. But that's what I would do if I was Philly. That's kind of what I think they would do. Go receiver there. I can also see them going Chris Olave. Wanting a bigger and a little bit bigger receiver, so maybe more of a jump threat, but that's where I would go 18.
Yeah, Drake London's a huge guy for a jump ball guy. The only worry I have with Drake London, he doesn't have the quickness that you kind of want from a receiver, and that worries me that he's gonna end up like a Jalen Reagor, which makes it kind of ironic that we have them taking the Eagles. We have the Eagles taking him. So I mean, I could definitely see him being a superstar. He has the body. He's not slow, but he's not super quick. But I mean, and he's a solid route runner, not great. But the guy is a humongous dude, and he's a freak athlete when it comes to just high pointing balls. Like 50-50 balls turn into 80-20 balls for him. He is a stud. But my worry is those jump ball guys in the NFL. Sometimes it's a worry that those jump ball guys are jump ball guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, they kind of get limited to only being able to do a certain thing, and they can't just go, run a quality route and get open. They have to just rely on that jump ball.
Mm-hmm. All right, now the Saints at 19. So the first 16 picks, we didn't have a single team that we had separate. That they had 2 picks that we had each person taking us pick. Now we have 2 in a row. We have the Eagles and the Saints. We each took one of each teams. Now you haven't taken Garrett Wilson at 16, which is a very solid pick. Can't be mad about that at all. I know this sounds crazy because they do have a lot of needs because they have had so many issues with the cap issues because they just keep pushing the can down the road and it all backfired this offseason. I'm actually going to double up receiver, though. Michael Thomas is never healthy. I feel like Traquan Smith's a 3 in most offenses, and he has to run as their 2 or even 1 at times. So I'm actually going to go with Chris Olave. He's not my top receiver. My top receiver is Treylon Burks. But I think that if you're looking about what they need, if you can pair up the teammates again at 16 and 19, I mean, and we know for a fact the Saints love their Ohio State players. It's been well documented. I mean, and even if Michael Thomas stays healthy, could you imagine that trio: Michael Thomas, a healthy Michael Thomas, Garrett Wilson, and Chris Olave? That would be pretty disgusting.
That'd be horrifying.
And that would give Jameis Winston and some receivers to throw deep balls to, which is what he can do well. So, even though I would have loved if Trevor Penning would have dropped to 19 for this New Orleans, that would have been the pick. But I think with how we're looking right now, and I don't think that they really want to go quarterback this draft, or they would trade up farther than 16 to go get Willis probably. So I think they're going to go. I would not be surprised at all if they double up receiver, especially in this deep receiver class.
Yeah, I agree. I really don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, Olave is really extremely talented wide receiver. I think he'll be really good at the next level. To have those two guys on your offense is kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Honestly, thinking about it. But so I got Steelers at 20. So I think you keep the boy at home and you take Kenny Pickett at 20 if I'm Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's good. I think if he gets with the right team, he can be a franchise guy. He's not a top 10 pick. I think around 20 is kind of where I would take him. 20, maybe even a little later in the first round. But I think with Pittsburgh, it is a need. A quarterback is a need. I think Pickett has the potential in this draft to be just what they need as a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I like Pickett. I mean, obviously the hand size is obviously a question, especially in a place like as cold as Pittsburgh, but he already played at Pittsburgh for 4 years. So, I mean, there's that question pretty much gone at that point. I like Pickett. I think he's got good athleticism, not great. I think he's got a good arm, not great, which is why I think at 20, it's a perfect spot for him. And I mean, I have seen a lot of mock drafts lately having Desmond Ridder go 20 to Pittsburgh over Kenny Pickett. And I just don't see that. I think Ridder is very inaccurate. I was super high on him this past year in college. If you all watched our college football podcast, you would definitely know that. But he never really improved as much as we expected him to. So like the late rise of Desmond Ridder is kind of confusing to me. So definitely I think Kenny Pickett's the right pick here. You give him a chance. Plus you already have Mitch Trubisky there for a couple of years on a cheap deal. That if Pickett's struggling to get to to hook on early, you can just keep Trubisky for the rest of the contract. If he's not struggling at all, you can just cut Trubisky. So,
yeah,
I'm on with Belichick and the Patriots. Belichick and the Patriots always really like cornerback. They obviously lost J.C. Jackson this offseason. Big loss. But to be honest, I don't really like any of the corners here at 21. I mean, not super high on Andrew Booth Jr. I think this is way too early for Kyer Elam as well. I'm actually going to go with Zion Johnson. I think he's a safe pick. The O-line was a little bit of an issue last year. I think he's just a very solid player. You can't really miss there. And it's just probably a smart pick there. Best player available.
For me, with the Packers losing Devontae Adams and losing Lazard, I'm going with Treylon Burks out of Arkansas.
That seems like a very consensus thing right now. I've been hearing that a lot lately.
I think he's a really, really talented wide receiver. He's going to give Aaron Rodgers he's fairly fast, but he's a pretty big receiver too. I mean, for his size, he's quick. I think he's about 6'3", 6'3-ish, I think.
Yeah, he's 6'4", and he's about 230.
Yeah, he's big and
kind of 4.55, but that was at the combine where obviously there was some questionable timings to begin with, and he plays a lot faster than on TV. On his tape, like it's just a lot faster than that.
Most definitely. I saw him when he played Texas A&M. He caught it down the sideline and outran defensive backs, so he's pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean,
wide receivers definitely
scares the crap out of me. As a Vikings fan, if we had to play Treylon Burks every year, twice a year, I would be scared to death.
Yeah, exactly.
He reminds me of a Debo Samuel mixed with a Rondale Moore. Like I think he's a little bit more twitchy than Debo Samuel is, but he's not as good as Debo Samuel, obviously. But I think he's got the twitchiness of a Rondale Moore type of guy. He's a gadget player. He's not a great route runner, but my thing is the only reason you need to be a good route runner is so you can get open. And he's the type of player you just get the ball to and let him play. So
Yeah.
run wide receiver screens, do whatever you need to do, like get in the ball.
Agreed.
Now I'm on the board with the Cardinals here. Again, I don't like any of the corners here, but obviously corner is a big need for them. Edge, I could see George Karlaftis, but I'm actually not very high at all on Karlaftis. I think he's a high floor guy, but not at all a high ceiling guy. I'm actually gonna go Boye Mafe as the first surprise pick here, really, like far down the board a little bit. Freak athlete, just freak athlete for an edge this low down the board. Very raw, but he's got all the tools to be a great edge rusher. So I think in this spot where I'm still not high on any of the corners here with Andrew Booth or Kyrie Elam, I'm not super high on him. I think that Boye Mafe could be that potential edge because I mean, with the Cardinals, you don't really have much depth there anymore after Chandler Jones left. So
Yeah, I think Boye Mafe is actually a pretty underrated player, honestly, coming out of Minnesota. He's not the most hyped player coming out, but I mean, I've seen a little bit of him here and there, and the man can play. I mean, he's definitely talented, and I think he can definitely boost that Cardinals defense.
mm.
But the Cowboys at 24. There's two positions I've been really looking at for them in edge and safety. And now that Boye Mafe's at the board, I really want to say Jackson Hill out of Michigan.
He's a stud.
I think he's very, very talented, and I think he'll definitely go well in that secondary with Trevon Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think he just adds to that talented secondary there in Dallas.
Yeah, Dax Hill is if he wasn't a safety, he'd be drafted a lot higher. He'd be completely. I mean, he can play nickel. He's a good in the box safety. He's a good over the top safety. Honestly, in my opinion, he's pretty darn close to. In my opinion, he's actually pretty darn close to Kyle Hamilton, and like I think they're neck and neck. I mean, Dax Hill has some issues in his game that Hamilton doesn't, but also I think that Dax is. I think honestly, if he wasn't a safety, he'd be a top 15 pick.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, now Buffalo. I think this is where I'm probably going to finally pull the trigger on Andrew Booth. Obviously, I'm not super high on Andrew Booth as I've already passed on him a few times for teams that could definitely use them. But in Buffalo's situation, you've already got a CB1 in Tre'Davious White, who actually is coming off that injury though, so that's definitely a scare. He should be fine with the torn ACL, but you never know. But Andrew Booth is a CB2, I think is a really good pick, especially with Buffalo that I don't see too many holes on the roster to begin with. So I just think Andrew Booth is kind of a solid, safe pick at 25 to be a good CB2.
Yeah, I think he has enough talent to be coached up by Tre'Davious White to become a good corner at the next level. I think he just needs a little bit of coaching. I mean, he has all the talent, all the tools there. He just needs kind of some direction when he gets into the league.
Mm-hmm.
And for the Titans at 26, I think I can easily see them going wide receiver here, and I think that's probably a good idea for them. I'm actually going to go Devin Lloyd, linebacker, Utah.
Yeah, he's a stud.
I mean, he's an absolute stud. For him to be on the board at 26 is kind of insane.
First linebacker taken this draft.
I know, which is shocking. I mean, there's some good linebackers, but Devin Lloyd, I think he's going to be a stud at the next level. I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. There's a reason why Utah was in the Rose Bowl this year.
I know this sounds crazy. I like the Devin Lloyd because he's just a stud. I would have went Sam Howell there.
Wow.
I'm not high on Ryan Tannehill at all. I'll be completely honest. I think the reason they lost last year in the playoffs is because Ryan Tannehill's not very good. And I think this here at 26, there's not too many holes in the Titans roster. Obviously, offensive line's not great, but I mean, you could go Kenyon Green, you could go Tyler Linderbaum, you could go Smith from Tulsa. But yeah, I think obviously you could go Devin Lloyd at linebacker, you could go to Kobe Dean. I just feel like if you're looking for the future of the Titans, I like the Sam Howell idea. But I know your thoughts are on that.
Well, you got the Tampa Bay Bucks at 27.
Yep. Up to 27. Again, this is another team I'm not really. I don't think it has too many needs, but obviously with Ali Marpet retiring and not coming out of retirement, surprisingly, when Brady came back, I'm going Kenyon Green.
Oh, good pick.
Plug and play.
Yeah, I think Kenyon Green's really good, and I mean I can see him going even before 27, but I think if he's at 27, you got to take him.
Mm-hmm.
For Green Bay, there's some I'm kind of torn on a few guys, but
We haven't taken Treylon Burks earlier.
yeah, they already have a wide receiver. I think you got to take George Kalafis. I mean, at Purdue, I think he can be good. I think he will be good at the next level. I mean, they did lose Darius Smith to Minnesota, so I think you got to take a chance on Karlaftis there at 28.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I mean, he's another high floor, low ceiling guy. But at 28, you can't really be too mad about that at all.
Nah, that's a good pick at 28, in my opinion. The Kansas City Chiefs at 29.
Kansas City at 29 obviously lost
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill, one of the biggest trades of the offseason. I'm guessing you're going to go pretty far down the board here. I'm going with my third favorite wide receiver in the class behind Treylon Burks and
I know who you're picking.
I am going with Christian Watson from North Dakota State.
I knew it. I knew that's who you're going to pick.
Absolute freak athlete. Like, I'm not one of those guys that's usually saying I'm going to go just for athlete. But that guy is a freak of nature. He's 6'4", ran a 4.3, and he plays that fast on the field as well. Obviously the question with him is one of the two questions with him really are the first one is the competition. I mean, he played at North Dakota State. Obviously, he's on North Dakota State. You have the best team in Division II by a mile. But he was still like he made those people look like they were playing middle school football, to be completely honest. And the other thing is his hands. He does have a few drops here and there, but it's usually a drop of I'm looking to get up the field as soon as possible type of drop more than I'm trying to look at the ball and I just can't catch the ball. And I think you can definitely correct that by just getting him the ball more often to where he's not as anxious when he does get the ball. But just freak of nature, I think that if you're in it with Kansas City, the way their offense is, you can be risky with a pick like this. You can take that risk to go get the guy that's kind of unknown, but potential wise, he may be the top receiver in the draft. Just freak athlete potential wise.
Yeah, I'm super high on Christian Watson. I think he may be one of the most underrated players in the entire draft. I think he's going to be that good. For me, with the Kansas City at 30, I'm kind of debating between two guys right here, but I'm actually going to go David Ojabo out of Michigan. Ooh. I think when he comes back from his injury, I think he's going to be an absolute beast on the field. I think he's going to be so good. If he was healthy, I think he'd be a top 10 pick, top 12 pick. I think he's going to be that good. I'm super high on Ojabo.
I love Ojabo. I think he's actually probably, in my opinion, he's got a higher ceiling than Aiden Hutchinson, his teammate. But obviously the Achilles injury is the big scare. If it was ACL, I think he actually would still be considered mid-first round because we've seen so many guys come back from an ACL tear completely fine, or sometimes even better. But Achilles is the scary part. But honestly, with KC again, they have such a proven draft record lately in the last few years. If you take two chances there, but you take the chances where if they hit, which the thing is with Patrick Mahomes' huge contract, you need these big time players to hit that in the draft. If these guys hit, then Kansas City is going to be a dynasty for years to come. Obviously, they could still flop, but I don't see that happening with these two guys. I think that these two guys, the potential is just ridiculously high.
Yeah.
All right, now Cincinnati at 31. I think this is the easiest pick I have yet. I'm going Tyler Linderbaum. Just get some help for Joe Burrow.
Yeah. If they had an O-line, they would have won the Super Bowl because they had a wire. Was it Chase that was wide open at the end when Burrow got hit?
Wide open. I mean, Linderbaum, there's definitely some questions about him. I was way higher on him the last time we did a mock draft. As time's gone, I've kind of lost a little bit of like about him. He's a little bit smaller than you kind of want at center. He does get a good base. He did get a good base, at least at Iowa, where he does get a good base, so his size is not as big of an issue. But I'm still not sold that that's going to translate as much to the league. But you're talking about just straight up mechanics and stuff. I think Tyler Linderbaum's a stud, and he's definitely an upgrade from who Cincinnati has before.
Yeah, I think he's very talented, and he helps Cincinnati, and Joe Burrow needs help desperately, or else he's not going to last another 5 years in the league. And as talented as he is, you need to keep that man protected at all times. That needs to be your number one priority is forget weapons. You have Jamar Chase now. You need to focus on building up that O-line.
True.
For me, with the Lions at 32. So there's
last pick of the first round, and then we'll head into a new video with the round 2 picks.
I don't want to do this in the Kobe Dean because I think he's an amazing player and he'll probably be taken in the first round. But I am going Sam Howell at 32 for the Lions. I've actually seen this in several mocks of ESPN analysts and such of them taking Howell at 32.
They see him as according to a lot of mocks, they see him as their backup plan if they decide not to take Willis at 2. I think that Sam Howell at 32 is a lot better idea than Willis at 2, to be completely honest. I mean, my top five quarterbacks, I'll just go ahead and say it right now, in this order is Corral, then Howell, then Willis, then Pickett, and then probably Ritter. But it's very close between Ritter and Strong because I'm not very high on Ritter. But Howell at 32, I think, could be a steal. I love his grit. I love his determination. And I love his work ethic. And I think if you put weapons around him, which if the Lions decide to go receiver in the second round, so we may get to that, to go along with Equanimous St. Brown. But no, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Get the two brothers are with annoying names.
Yeah.
But if you if they can get another receiver to go alongside Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think we might be able to see actually what Sam Howell is. I mean, Sam Howell is projected to be the second overall pick in the draft going into the season. And then obviously North Carolina wasn't as good as expected, but I still think that they're definitely a good, solid team. No, definitely a good, solid team to get a guy like a Sam Howell. Plus, you give him time to develop a little bit because he needs development for sure. I mean, Jared Goff's not good, but he's serviceable, especially knowing that the Lions aren't going to be good for the next 3 years. So I think it's a solid pick. But yeah, so kind of wrapping up the first round, we're going to get to the second round in the next video. We'll either do it all in one video with the second round, or we'll break it up by 16 again. Kind of depends on how quickly we get through those picks. But looking through this, through the remaining board, well, before we get to that, looking through the picks that we made, are there any of those that you were surprised that they were there that you think could be steals? And is there any that you think that we might have reached on a little bit?
I mean, I think Jameson Williams at 11, him, coming off the ACL tear, you can come back fast from ACL tear. I think he's going to be fine. It could be a bit of a reach, but I think what's actually even more reach that is a bit forward for me. I mean, I know I picked it, but I can just see Thibodeau being a bust. He has so much talent, but he can also be such a bust. And I think that's also kind of a reach.
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day. What about you?
I think the steal of the draft could be Ekwonu to the Seahawks at 9. I think him falling that far was surprising, but also if you look at the board, I don't see that being completely out of the realm of possibility by any stretch. I mean, we know that the Giants are going to take at least one of the offensive tackles, and we know they're going to take an edge. I think the big question if Ekwonu drops or not will be that pick will be number 3 with the Texans and number 6 with the Panthers. If both those guys take who we have them picking, Gardner and Willis, or maybe this is Pickett instead of Willis, whatever. If that happens, then Ekwonu could drop to 9, and I think the Seahawks would love it. I think the reach. I think that Jermaine Johnson may be a little bit of a reach, and I think it's just because we had 3 edges go in the top 4 picks. Obviously, I think the Giants would be happy if they could get Jermaine Johnson at 7 and take an offensive lineman here. I mean, I think they would be happy either way with what they got, but I think maybe flip the order would be probably what they expect. But I mean, I think that's a kind of a reach, but not really that much. And I could honestly see Chris Olave as a reach at 19. I've kind of picked Olave for that pick because Garrett Wilson and Olave as a duo has been great in college, and I think it's going to continue to be great if they stay together. But I think Olave is probably outside my top 5 receivers in the draft. So I think he may be a little bit of a reach at 19. But also this receivers class is an interesting class where I think that depending on what you're looking for, I think you can decide which receiver you like better because it's just literally what you're looking for because they're all completely different talents. I mean, if you look at the receivers we took in the first round, we had Jamison Williams at 11, who's a really good route runner, is super fast, that can take the top of the defense. You got Garrett Wilson, who's the best route runner in the draft, and he's fast, but he may not have that deep threat as much as Chris Olave, who is a just straight up deep threat. You have Drake London, who is literally a 50-50 ball guy, but can be ridiculously good at that. Treylon Burks is a Deebo Samuel hybrid type of receiver. Christian Watson is a freak of nature. Like, it just kind of depends on what you look for at receiver. So, I mean, I think I probably would say that that's a little bit of a reach with Olave, but also if the Saints need a deep threat, which they really, really do, especially if they have Wilson and Michael Thomas, their receivers, neither one of those guys are deep threats. So Olave could be that deep threat they need. But I don't think there was too many really reaches that I really see too much.
No, I think it's all pretty solid. I mean, I think it's all very consistent picks that I can see the organization soon.
All right, so last thing before we get into the second round, looking at the board here, are there any guys here that you were surprised didn't go first round or that you think could be steals in the second round?
I think Nakobe Dean will go in the first round at some point. So I'm surprised that he's still there.
By the way, Braves just lost 6-3. But yeah, I think that Nakobe Dean's a stud. It's just the whole thing. It's just understanding how the board falls, and it just feels like none of the teams that could have used Nakobe Dean really were on the board too much. I mean, I could have seen him in Buffalo. I could have seen him in Tampa. I could have seen him instead of Devin Lloyd. But it's a very interesting situation with Nakobe Dean. I think he could have went definitely first round. I think Jahan Dotson could have went first round. I think Lewis Seen could have went first round if someone got really wanted to a safety. And I'm actually really, really, really high on Matt Corral. He's my number 1 quarterback in the draft. So I think if a team got him in the second round, honestly, they should be ecstatic.
I agree.
Yeah, so we're going to get into the second round of the draft in the next video, and then we'll see what we can do from there. It's kind of going to be interesting because this draft is so deep.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Second round.
Yes, it will.
Peace.
Peace.